One of the most important lessons that I learned while being with Heart to Heart was how to always thank God for everything and how to try to give back.
Lucrând cu Heart to Heart am fost foarte impresionat, profund mișcat de modul în care Dumnezeu poate să transforme viața oamenilor.
Working with Heart to Heart, I've been very moved of how God can transform the lives of people.
Am observat cum lipsa de dragoste deformează caracterul omului.
I've seen how the absence of love deforms the character of a person.
Am observat câtă lipsă de speranță și lipsă de plan pentru viitor în viața acestor copii.
I've seen the lack of hope and the lack of planning for the future amongst these kids.
Dar de-a lungul anilor,
through all these years,
am observat cum dragostea lui Dumnezeu transformă.
I've seen how God's love transforms.
Cum pune speranță, cum pune planuri pentru viitor în viața acestor copii.
When we are able to put hope and plans for the future in the lives of these kids.
Îi mulțumesc lui Dumnezeu pentru șansa care mi-a dat-o să lucrez cu Heart to Heart.
I'm very thankful to God for the chance that He's given me to work with Heart to Heart.
Și privesc cu atenție în viața schimbările care le face Dumnezeu în viața acestor copii.
And seeing the changes that God does in these children's lives.
Și sunt încurajat și plin de putere să merg mai departe.
And I'm encouraged and filled with power to keep going.
Probably back in 1998, we had a Boy Scout approach us, and he wanted to build a playground as his Eagle Scout project. The plan was that he would actually build the playground up at our place in Ramona, and then they would disassemble it and we would pack it up in a container and ship it to Romania. We had been working at the boys' orphanage. It was called the Ploska Orphanage, and it was an orphanage that was designated for handicapped children. And we had been working there for several years, and they had nothing. They had just a big dirt field, and so we thought this would be a great blessing for them. We worked like crazy for 2 days to get this playground built. It was just one of the best feelings just to be able to present this playground to the kids and to see them playing on it and climbing all over the ladders and the slides and everything. And we called the director out and we wanted to officially, give it to her. And we had, one of our staff was working with us there, and she went and got her, and she was real nervous when he brought her back. And she said, translated for us, and we said, we're so happy to give you this playground, and we hope there'll be many years of joy and laughter with this playground. And she graciously accepted it and said, thank you very much. And then, we were ready to pack up and get in our car because we were going to fly out the next day. And then she said, but, and we kind of thought, what? And she said, this is a wonderful gift for our orphanage, but I have 10 boys here that I have to kick out of the orphanage. And they won't have a home to go to, they won't have a job, they won't have anything. What are you going to do about those 10 boys?
It was through that experience with that director that we started thinking about we have to have a transitional program. And I remember the first day that we went and picked up the kids from the orphanage and we brought them into that house, and by our standards, yeah, it's okay. It wasn't anything extravagant, but for those kids, you would have thought we just put them in the Taj Mahal.
They were just amazed, and they immediately were so grateful, and they went to the faucets at the sink, and I think our bathroom down there has 2 or 3 sinks and a couple toilets and everything, and they flushed all the toilets over and over again, and they turned on the water and turned off the water. And then it occurred to me that, when we were building that playground a couple years earlier, a year and a half earlier, these boys were the boys that were living in the part of the dormitory that had a fire. And they didn't even have a solid roof over their head. And I can remember looking at Jim, and it hit me at that time, what have we gotten ourselves into? These 10 boys were now our responsibility. We had legally, they were under our our guardianship. And you know, here we didn't really have the money in the first place to buy this house. You know, it's not like we had $25,000 sitting in the bank, but God provided. But we didn't have a lot of extra money sitting in the bank to pay for their food and for their clothing and whatever else they needed. And it just was like, I just didn't know how God would provide. And it just shocked us, but yet, again, we just had to sit back and say, well, God, you brought us this far, so we know that you're going to take us to the next step.
About a year after we started working with the transition program, we realized that we needed a lot of help in figuring out what are we going to do with these boys. How are we going to make them to be productive members of society? So we realized we needed to come up with a school that we could give them skills. We were able to raise money for this trade school, and we built it. It has a welding and fabrication shop, a woodworking shop, has a bicycle shop in it. I remember building the school, and we were having this big dedication of our brand new trade school. And one of the girls, I think it was Alina, she came up to us and she said, "What about us? You're doing all this stuff for the boys, but you know, what about us girls? Who's going to help us?" And it was a very, very sobering, you know, comment that she made, because I remember looking at Jody, and Jody looked back at me, and we're like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" It took us a year and a half of looking to find a house.
It took probably 4 or 5 months for us to prepare it. We started really thinking, you know, what this team needs, or what this group needs, the girls that were going to be coming to the house. They need the influence of godly women. And so we got the idea of, let's put together a team that's specific for these girls. And so when they arrive at the house, they'll have our staff, and they'll also have a group of 5 or 6 women that will come and for a few weeks just mentor them and love on them and help them transition from living in an orphanage into our house. And we called that team the Girly Team. One of our favorite people that God brought into our lives has been Grandma Ruth. And we just had so much fun with her at the girls' house. And all of the girls from that year on call her Grandma Ruth. And it's really neat to think that she can be the grandma to these girls that never had a grandma.
And I'm the one, Ruth Upfries, that ended up as Grandma Ruth, and I'm going to cry through this whole thing because they're so dear to me. And they have even, some of them come over to visit Jody and ended up at my house too. Just beautiful, wonderful women that have turned out to be marvelous Christian people. And one of the girls especially, named Corny, I don't know her full name. Anna, do you know her full name?
Cornelia.
And she got caught smoking. She was upstairs in the girly house, and we were downstairs, and of course the smoke was wafting down. And poor Corny got caught, and she was put out of the girly house because she'd broken the rules. They had special, very special rules that they had to abide by if they got to come.
Dar pentru mine luna aia a fost grea, de fapt.
But that month that I was gone, I was out of the program, it was very difficult.
Pentru că am zis, Doamne, ce-am făcut?
As I said, Lord, what did I do?
Așa că m-am hotărât să mă întorc înapoi.
And I decided I was going to go back to the program.
Și să vin cu atitudine așa cum
and to come with a good attitude, the attitude I needed to have.
Așa că așa am făcut, am venit cu atitudine bună, cu respect.
That's what I did. I came back with a good attitude, with a respectful attitude.
Și totodată să ajut pe cei din jurul meu.
And
și să fiu un exemplu pentru
I came back willing to help for those around me and to be an example.
But she turned out to be most of the wonderful women in the group, and she is a wonderful Christian woman, and now is head of the nursery department in the orphanage, in the hospital there, the orphanage hospital. Beautiful girl.
When I go to the babies, I feel like I am truly who I am.
Pentru că mă gândesc, așa am fost și eu.
I think this is how I was.
Și nu știu cum să mă exprim. Când te gândești la acești îngerași, așa le sun, copiii mei.
When you think about my angels, because that's what they are, my kids,
Te gândești unde se duc.
you think, where are they going to go?
Se duc la familii bune,
Will they go into a good family,
orfelinate
to the orphanage,
sau pe străzi.
or on the streets?
We had a lot of firsts at the Girls Transition House. These girls had never lived in a family type setting and had never had elderly people around them, so that, you know, having a grandma for the first time was something that they had never experienced. And we had to teach them how to clean the house, how to take showers, everything from, you know, basic, like you need to brush your teeth every day, twice a day, to this is how you prepare for an interview, and this is how we dress to go out in public, and how to go to church, and just all those basic things we had to teach those girls the first time.
In 2005, Heart to Heart opened the transition program for girls, and I had the privilege to be in that program, and that's all because of your guys' support, prayers, and your work. I really can't find words that could express my gratitude to all of you who has worked, prayed, and supported Heart to Heart. Through Heart to Heart, I got to know Jesus, which that's the biggest gift anybody could give to anybody.
Jim and Jody, you are not only the presidents of Heart to Heart, but you are also like parents for me.
Those girls changed so completely. You'd have to have been there to realize where they came from and how they ended up.
And it was so fun to watch them change in such a short amount of time. They came into the house and some of them were so surly and so just hard exteriors, and just they had such a hard life, and you could see it all over their faces.
But what a wonderful group of women they turned out to be, all because of Heart to Heart.